Hey all, it's your girl Erin, and this is my MTG Arena free-to-play series. The last video we did the blue color challenge, so today we'll be moving on to the black one. And you have to complete all of the color challenges. Well, I don't know if you have to, but it's pretty much a good idea to complete all of the color challenges before you play against real people, because it lets you unlock a whole bunch of cards that you can use to start building your deck with. And you play against like the AI and stuff, so it's a nice way to warm up to the game if you are new to it. It can be a bit of a grind if you've played the game before, but even if you are just quick, I played 2 swamps and now I'm playing Child of Knights. I didn't have anything to play turn 1. But yeah, even if you've played Magic before, but you haven't used the MTG Arena app before, you might want to play through this anyway, just so you learn how the app works. There are a bit of nuances and things to get used to. I've made a whole bunch of mistakes when I first started out, and my cat Piglet is meowing at me. But yeah, also, you know, I don't have to worry about timing out when I'm playing against the bots. You can take time to think. Playing against people, your turns are timed. So anyway, black, this is all about life gain. As you might notice, we have life link, gain 2 life, another one of those, and then whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodthirsty Aerialist. Now, I love this card, and I use it like in my other accounts when I play as well. It's so cool. So it's got flying, which is cool because then it can't be blocked by creatures unless they have flying or reach. But every time I gain life, it gets a +1 token, so it just continues to get bigger and bigger, and the opponent either has to kill it somehow or it will kill them. So my opponent has a 2/2. I can attack. If they block, my Child of Night will die because it has enough power, but I will gain a life even if it dies, so I'll get a token on my Aerialist. And because I have another one to play anyway, you know, it's kind of worth it. Although yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna make use of my ability to get that going. I could wait and then kill my opponent's creature with this, but I'm kind of relying on them playing another creature that I might want to kill. Okay, unfortunately Sorin's Thirst only does 2 damage, so it would not kill the Pegasus, but it can kill the Charmed Stray. Firstly though, let's play a land. So this is an instant, so I can play it on my opponent's turn. I don't need to play it now. But it can also gain me life, which means I do more damage if I do it before I deal damage, because I'll have another token. So I think I'm going to attack. If my opponent blocks, I will kill their Pegasus, which is cool. Because my creature won't die. They chose not to. So I will do the Sorin's Thirst on their turn. I'm not going to worry about getting the extra token for now. They might play something else that is much better to Thirst than Charmed Stray. Or if they play another Charmed Stray, you know. But there we go. So Angel of Vitality is a 2/2, so this can kill it, but it will get +2/+2 if my opponent gets to 25 life or more. So I can rather kill that now before it gets any bigger. The Charmed Stray could also get bigger, because if he plays another one, it'll put a token on this one. But I'm not as worried about it because it can't fly. So I think I will do that. So let's let it resolve, and then we can let them attack. And I'm just going to let that through. I won't block. I won't let my Child of Night die because it's only 1 damage from that. And then before it goes to my turn, I will Sorin's Thirst. So now I drew a swamp, so that's not very useful, but they don't have any creatures to block, so I'll attack with both because that gives me lifelink and get some damage in. Even if they attack me, you know, they can do 2 compared to what I did, which was 6. Next turn 7, as long as I keep going. So now they do have a blocker held back. I get another Bloodthirsty Aerialist, which I'll play. Now, if I attack with a Child of Night, it'll die. I kind of didn't want to only have one creature on the board, so I wasn't going to attack. But because I drew a creature, and I'm able to put down the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, and because the Bloodthirsty Aerialist will also benefit from it, I will attack with the Child of Night. Because even if it dies, it is going to kill my opponent's creature, so my opponent will go down to 2 unless they can save it, and I will have 2 instead of it being, you know, 1 versus 2. It'll be 2 versus 2. And then this Bloodthirsty Aerialist will also get a token. Okay, they couldn't save it. Bonus. So now it is, if they saved it would be 2 versus 3. But yeah, so now I have a huge Bloodthirsty Aerialist and the one that's just getting away. Oh. Another Sorin's Thirst. So this Sorin's Thirst will allow my Bloodthirsty Aerialists to gain another token each, meaning if Ajani blocks with the Sarah Angel and tries to kill this one by being 4 power against my 4 toughness, I can use the Sorin's Thirst to gain life, which will put another token on the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, so it will survive that and get enough to kill the Sarah Angel back. And I don't even need to do that damage to the Sarah Angel, I can do it to something else. So there's no real danger in attacking here. Both my creatures should survive and they don't have any mana to play any tricks. Like expected, they think they can kill that one, and it's a good move to make if you're worried about dying and worried that my creature will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you got to take the chance you can get. Unfortunately for them though, this card does let me gain life. I'm going to kill that Charm straight. Gain life, they both get bigger. This one will now kill the Sarah Angel. And I do 7 damage, and next turn, even if only the bigger one is alive, I'm threatening lethal. Now, if I were them, I wouldn't have attacked, because they've pretty much just lost themselves the game by attacking. They would have needed to stay back to block the Bloodthirsty. And I'm just going to attack with both because I have highlight. They don't have anything to... Even if they had a card to play, I would have still attacked with both with that much thing to work. Cool, cool. Obviously, when you play the color challenges, it's introducing you to the colors and how those colors work. We are looking at how black has lifelink and it also has some flying, and so that allows us to figure out what the vibe of the deck is, and it'll give us more and more interesting cards to play as we go. Black is also really good for destroying your opponent's creatures, not dealing damage to them and not returning them to the opponent's hand, but actually outright destroying and sometimes even exiling them. Because like killing them, but they don't go to a graveyard. Now, usually if a card goes to the graveyard, that's the end of its usefulness. But some decks do interact with the graveyard. There's ways of getting things back out of it or getting benefits depending on how much of a specific card is there. So exiling in some cases is better than just killing, and exile also gets around things like indestructibility. Now, in turn 1 I played the Vampire of the Diamoon, which is a 1/1 with lifelink and death touch. In this turn I can attack with it, and I can also play a card. I'm going to attack first, so they worry that I might have a combat trick, so if there's any 1 mana flash creature they might have, they're less likely to play it, although I'm not sure they are 1. There's an unsummon though, which lets me choose now between the Vampire Opportunist or the Vampire of the Diamoon. Now I'm going to pick this one because if we draw another Bloodthirsty Aerialist, I will be able to play it and then attack with lifelink. The Opportunist can gain me life, but only if I have 7 mana to spare, which I don't. I didn't draw a Bloodthirsty Aerialist. However, if I want to get that 1 damage through and gain that 1 life, without risking my Vampire of the Diamond dying, I could murder their Coral Merfolk. Normally, if I was playing aggressive, I would just attack, and if they block, let that creature die and just keep the pressure on. But because I have 2 counter spells and not a whole bunch of creatures, I think it's more important to actually keep my Vampire of the Diamond alive, and I'm not going to wait for them to attack too. I'll rather kill it before it can do any damage. They might play bigger creatures that are worth murdering, but sometimes you just gotta keep them at bay, not let them get too much stuff on board. Allows things like synergies to get going, which blue is pretty good. So now the Savage Gorger will get a +1 counter at the end of the turn if my opponent lost life. But for that to happen, my Vampire of the Diamond would need to actually do damage. What I can do though is I can attack, then if they block, then I'll murder the Cloudkin and I won't play the Savage Gorger. If they don't block, then I will not murder the Cloudkin. I'll play the Savage Gorger and it will get a token because the opponent will have lost life. So now that I have an extra creature, I'm not so worried about losing this one. They are going to block, and I did want to keep it alive, and now I'm going to actually murder the Cloudkin. And they could have led through, you know. I mean, that would have been cheaper if they had kept it alive. If I were them, I probably would have let it through. But now I'm free to attack. And I have done damage, so even if you play this after you've dealt the damage, it looks back at your turn and says if your opponent lost life this turn in the whole turn, you can put that counter on. And then I have enough mana to play the Vampire Opportunist as well, so I'll do that. Although I still won't have enough mana to use the Vampire Opportunist ability. That looks like they have a robot they are direct. Anyway, I'm going to play it. Another one. And attack with everyone. Now I've done damage, so I should get another token. It's bigger and bigger. If I draw a swamp, I can then use the 7 mana you need, 1 black and 6 of anything. Obviously it'll be 7 black and 9. I do get a land. So either of these I can do that. I'm thinking of attacking. They have flying, so they could double block the Gorger, but it would kill both because 1 and 2. So I'd be able to do 2 to that, 1 to that with a 3, kill them both, and have all that alive. Otherwise, they might want to block one of that's got Death Touch. So either way, whatever they block is dying. And seeing as they are getting closer to 0 and I'm still sitting pretty, I'm going to try and keep putting pressure on. And that'll kind of force them to play cards to kind of shore up their defenses that they might otherwise have wanted to play to be aggressive. So they are blocking only the Vampire Diamond, which is fine. I will let that I can do anything about it. If they blocked the Vampire Opportunist, I could have used their ability before it died. But I have 2 and only 1 worth of mana to use anyway, so it wouldn't have really mattered, but... and that's a synergy there, so even if I didn't attack, if I just used that ability, it would also put a token. So they don't have to attack to do damage, basically. Like now, I could attack with them, right? And one of them would die if they blocked. which is kind of fine actually, because then there's still 2 damage for the other one. But if I only had 1, I wouldn't attack with it, I'd just keep it black and use the ability. But I think what I'm going to do now is use the ability first. And I could attack with everything, but let's say they have tricks to play. So that is enough to threaten, forces them to either deal with it or die. They could not deal with it. So sometimes, like, when you're playing against humans, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to worry about that isn't really a concern playing against the AI. But anyway, I just wanted to play kind of similar to how I play against humans, just to sort of not like teach people bad habits or anything, you know? Okay, so Thirsting Blood gives other vampires +1/+1. That's pretty cool. And Knights of the Ebon Legion is a 1-drop, but can get bigger for 3 mana, which is pretty awesome. And they also get Death Touch when they get, so they can actually don't start out with Death Touch, but pretty cool ability. And they also get a token if the opponent lost 4 or more life, and if they attack and pump themselves up, they do 4 enough on their own. So they kind of self-contained ability to grow and have Death Touch as long as you have enough mana. So it's useful in situations where you fine on land, but you don't have that much of a threat. It can become a threat. And then we have just a 2/2 zombie, and Agonizing Siphon deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Let's keep going now, and we are playing against Chandra, so that'll be red. Chandra doesn't seem to take damage from. We have a Disfigure, which lets us give a creature -2/2, and there's nothing else we can play for 1 mana. They didn't play a creature, so we didn't have to use the Disfigure. Now, that targets a creature, but we don't have any creatures. You could target an opponent's creature, but it's making it better for a turn, so usually don't want. I'll just play the 2 mana 2/1 with lifelink and see if they play anything. Being red, they could shock it to death. Black does often have creatures with low toughness and higher power, making them sort of a danger against that kind of thing, against being shocked. But anyway, I'm going to attack, and then if they block, I have 2 cards that can help me survive. So I can either give my creature +1/+3, which will make it a 3/4, which is great, or I can give their creature -2/2, which would make it a 0/1. And that's a little bit more useful in this case because it is enough to kill it, but it also allows me to use this for something else, whereas this does get the job, but that could get multiple other jobs done. This job really, you could use it in combat to lower the opponent's creatures so you can kill it, but that's what I'm doing now. So now that's not going to be able to kill my creature, but I kill it and I gain 2 life in my turn. So now if they had a shock, for example, you know, that -2/2 wouldn't help because I need it to have more toughness, not the opponent to have attack. But anyway, they are playing a Spellgorger Weird, which gets a +1 token every time they cast a spell. So this will give my vampire +1/+1, but that's not enough to stop it from dying if they block. So I'm thinking of attacking, and then if they block, I'll pump it up so that it can kill the Spellgorger before it can get any bigger. If they don't block, then whatevs, but yeah. In this case, giving it -2/-1, -2/-2, what is it? -2/-2 would have killed it outright. But this is fine too, because then I get extra lifelink. And I'm keeping them from being able to make it bigger through non-creatures. So they are playing another creature. If I didn't do that, they might have played a non-creature spell to make it bigger. Like they are now. But anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to play my vampire. And I'm going to pass the turn. If they attack, I can block and give it -2/-2, but they might be able to make it big enough to kill my vampire by just giving one other non-creature spell. But either way, I'm going to try it. I'm going to block. And they are giving their creature +3/+2. So that's unfortunate. So I'm not actually going to play the Disfigure because it's going to get +1/+1 from the counter to make it a 4/4. Then it'll get +3/+2 from that, which will make it a 6/5. And -2/-2 just brings... Oh wait, does it just bring it back? I could actually kill it then, right? Okay, let's let that resolve here. Okay. So it'll become a 7/6. So no, there's no way I can save my dude. No point playing the Disfigure. Well, now I am kind of losing, but let's see if I draw anything cool. Okay, cool. I drew the Knights of the Ebon Legion, which is a useful spell. Okay, I mustn't let my turn in before playing it. Because it can get bigger. But I probably won't block, because I have a lot of life, and I really don't want this. And they might shock it anyway. Oop, they are using all their money. Actually, that means that they have no way of making this any bigger this turn. If they attack, I could block. Yeah, so I'll block. Let's first block. Okay. Now, I give it +3/+3. And I now have 5 toughness, so I don't die. I don't even need to play the Disfigure. Yeah. Oh, cool. So now I'm definitely going to be able to attack. Even if he blocks, I can give this creature -2/-2, so it's a 3/3. Even then, I still have 6 mana left to make it bigger twice, which would make it go up to 7/8. So we could potentially have a 7/8 versus a 3/3. So even though I have a 1/2 for 1 mana, it can still beat, even without the Disfigure, it can still beat a 6 mana Shivan Dragon just because I have the mana and they don't. So let's attack. I don't want to pump it up before I get blockers because I want them to work for it. I'm not going to let them assume I'm going to do it. They chose to block anyway though, so let's go for it. If I could only do it once, it would still die, but in this case it's if I could only do it once, it wouldn't kill the dragon. But I could disfigure it. That would have worked too. But there's no point playing this in the sand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Fire Urchin gets +1/+0 until the end of the turn. So it's got Trample, the same thing as I played this earlier actually. I think it was a different game. There's another one that gets +3 when you cast instant non-creature spell. But that one gets a token and this one gets +. My knight hasn't been able to grow yet. So I'm gonna attack potentially and pump it up twice. Or if I play this, I can only pump it up once. In order for them to kill me if I pump it up once, they'll need to be able to do 5. If they shock me, that does 2 to me, which means 3 left. So they'd have to shock twice, basically, to be able to kill me. But I'm wondering if it's not better to simply attack first and not Then if I need to pump it up twice, I can. And if I don't need to pump it up twice, I can play the vampire after. I won't get the +1/+1 from waiting, but I don't really need the +1/+1. I need one of those. Cool. So let's let that resolve. And then let's do another one. So now, my creature's bigger. And that's why Knight of the Ebon Legion is a cool card. So now I can play it before because they don't have cards. There's no ways I'll need to pump it up twice. Pumping it up once is still cool though, because then it can do the 4 damage required to trigger its +1/+1 counter. So now that it has been 4, it was 5. Should get a counter at the end of my turn. And I still have the disfigure for in case I need it. They got a land. And a murder. So I'm really doing well here. But there's nothing to use these on. Now they could play a creature next turn, and in that case, you know, you have to worry about maybe if you might want to kill it before it gets to my next turn. But in this case, I have so much life that there's no way one creature on its own is enough to kill me. So I don't even have to worry about leaving mana up. I could have pumped it up twice there and done an extra 6. I forgot to though. Misclicking is annoying on MTG Arena because you can't just say oops and like take it back like you can at like FNM or something. But yeah, this one gets +3/+0 for the turn anytime I'm dealt non-combat damage. That's what I was thinking of. But the Knight of the Ebon Legion got its token anyway on the end of my turn because the Thirsting Bloodlord helped me to get 4 total. So now that I did leave up the mana, I can actually cast this. So instead of pumping, if you leave up mana in case they cast a creature, this is when it becomes useful. Because now they can't block. And so if I pump him up twice, they have no way to block him. So either way, it's looking like this would have taken 2 turns to kill them. So it's worth playing that after combat anyway. You can still get a token, but just to keep the mystery of what cards in hand. And this time I'm not going to forget to pump it up. So even 1 pump is enough to give 10 total, but I'll do 2 just for the fun. Big numbers are nice. Cool, so we are on to the next color, well, the next battle in this color challenge. And so as you can see, the cards are getting a little bit more and more complicated as we go. There's more thinking involved, and even the color in general, like, it's not that the earlier colors weren't complex, but they just specifically chose like less complex cards to introduce you to, knowing that you're going through the game this way. So if you are new to Magic, hopefully a very intimidating game can become one that you actually feel like you can play via it sort of doing a bit of hand holding like that. So that lets me deal damage and gain a life whenever another creature I control dies. This brings cards back from the graveyard. This also brings cards back from the graveyard, and this gives the... And now we are playing against Nissa, so that should be green. So you play every color except yourself. You're not doing mirror matches, but at the end it could be a mirror match, but it also couldn't. Kind of a random... Oh, it's not Nissa, it's Vivian Reed. I've been saying it wrong the whole time. Lol. Oh well. I can play Bone Splitter for 1 mana, but it requires me to destroy a creature, which I don't have. Now I will play the Child of Night, and the Llanowar Elves allows Vivian to tap the elf, so that's the arrow thing I was talking about before, and add mana the way you would normally tap land to give you mana. I'm not going to block just because they have 3 1-drops and, you know, I only have a 2-drop, so basically I can't catch up right now in amount of creatures at all. But I can play either the Spinal Centipede or the Bloodthirsty Aerialist. Now, I think this one is better to have on board just in case they attack with something decently big that I actually want to block. But I'm not going to attack. Of course, let's see what happens. They're probably going to tap all of them for mana at some fact. Wow. Cool, so this is where having the extra creature is useful. If I blocked, I wouldn't have had the Child of Night still alive. But in this case, I'm actually going to attack and see if... Actually, no. So what I was thinking is I can use the Bone Splitter to kill my Child of Night, which would then allow me to kill their Primordial Worm. I was thinking, how do I get the lifelink and kill it? But it's like, no, if I get the lifelink, it means it's dead, so Bone Splitter doesn't work. Yeah, so let's do that. Even though it's a sorcery, so I have to play it on my turn. So, oops. Sacrifice a creature. Even though the worm can't block the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, I still just wanted it out the way, you know? The big worm, and didn't want to have to worry about it and worry about blocking and all that. Now I'll play a Centipede. Now at least if they attack with the elves, it means at least one of them are dying, and while they still get 2 damage through, if they keep doing that they'll eventually have no elves left, so usually you wouldn't, but they are. That is not a tactically wise decision in my opinion, because there's no way they could have kept it alive. Okay, so now I could either play the Vindictive Vampire. I could let the one of them block, probably that one. They would die. I'd gain a life, which would make the Bloodthirsty Aerialist bigger. Or I play the Vampire of the Diamond. I don't get that life from that. I get life from that, and it will be able to actually kill the Primordial Worm. So using the Vindictive Vampire route, whatever I block with doesn't kill it, but because of Death Touch, this one will. It would be cool if I had enough mana to play both, but I don't. And I'm not going to attack with the one on the ground, because something you do have to worry about with green is Breach. So even without flying, some of their creatures can block flyers. And they also have some cards that give creatures reach. So sometimes a creature that doesn't have reach, they have mana up in a card and become a creature with reach and ruin your plans. But yeah, they didn't attack with the worms, so interesting. So I'm just going to play this. I'm actually going to wait a turn because I want them to attack with the worms so I can Death Touch them. And if they don't, then I'll just use Bone Splitter to get rid of one. But as it is, I would rather they attack. Now what I could do is block both if they attack the thing. Block both with the Spinal Centipede and the Vampire of the Diamond. They draw a card. Then use Bone... Oh, it's a sorcery. If it was an instant, I could block with both. And then as it's blocked, destroy it. But because it's a sorcery, that won't. So I will only block where one of the worms. I'll block with the Death Touch. It'll kill a worm. The worm at trample, it would do extra damage over and above the 1 toughness, but it doesn't have trample, so it blocks the whole 7. I'll take 7 from that one. I won't keep this one alive because it can give me value over and over. And as it is, this centipede will stay alive, so if I use the Bone Splitter on my next turn, target my own centipede to sacrifice, it'll then put a counter on something. I'll also gain a life. So I could put 2 counters on the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, for example. Try to get it big enough to kill a worm. And obviously, I will have to block at some point, like block the worm even if I can't do it in a way that keeps me alive. But, you know, I have a 2 mana and a 1 mana. So instead of killing the Bone Splitter, killing the Centipede with Bone Splitter, I can play a Gruesome Menagerie and bring back a 1, a 2, and a 3 mana creature. I don't have a 3, but I have 2. Which brings back my Death Toucher and a Lifelinker. I'll then, let me just attack with everyone, because if they do double block that, it's dies, which lets me make my Bloodthirsty Aerialist bigger, and if they don't, it's extra damage. And they can't kill the Vindictive Vampire, who I really would enjoy not to die. Okay, they did double block. You kill one of them and die. And then I'll probably put the token on... I'm going to put the token on the Bloodthirsty Aerialist. Because I wanted to potentially get big enough to actually kill a worm. It can kill a worm now, but with 1 more token it can kill a worm and survive. And they can't block now anyway, so... They could have put that on the worm, but Death Touch means it would have died anyway. So as it is now, I'll kill the worm with the Death Touch. This will die flat out, and I'm actually gonna let the damage through. I have so much life. Keep my Child of Night alive, and let the worm die. So now my Bloodthirsty Aerialist could have survived a worm anyway, but I didn't need. But it's big enough now just to kill my opponent. That could block or whatever, but or they or whatever. Cool beans. So that's that, and I think that's all the bots for black. So I think I'm playing against a human next in black, and yeah, it'll be fun to enjoy using black cards. And as I was saying before in my white challenge video, the deck I play on my other accounts in Constructed uses the Bloodthirsty Aerialists and the Ajanis and the Vampire of the Daimoons. So even though they are cards that I'm like playing with and getting now as I'm just starting the game, they're valuable even in Constructed or like, you know, Diamond League or whatever. They're still cards that you can use, you know. Some of the ones you wouldn't. Like I don't think I would use the Savage Gorger in Constructed, but I do use the Piper of the Swarm sometimes. Especially in sacrifice decks, because it lets you create a creature which you can then sacrifice. Profit. So yeah, now we will be playing against a person, and that icon there is just showing us that if we win, we get a cosmetic artwork for one of our... It could be a card you don't have yet. You don't get the card, just when you get the card, you'll also be able to have that in. And you can choose multiple different artwork sometimes. Not for every card, the ones that have both. Most of them have, I think, like a borderless or normal, but the same sort of artwork. But some have completely different arts. So there's like some planeswalkers that are like stained glass. There's some cards that are like anime style, which are of those. And Mutate's a pretty cool mechanic that's not in any of these challenges because it's sort of a bit of a complicated strategy. But it's very fun to do and play. It's not that hard to do, it's just it's not going to be around forever. So Death Touch, Lifelink, Flying, tokens, all of these cards are, even if the card itself isn't in standard, something similar to it will be in standard. But Mutate is a mechanic that potentially won't exist in the future in standard like a year from now. So it's not really worth, you know, your limited mental capacity learning something that's temporary when it could be teaching you about stuff that will be useful on an ongoing basis. So we can either play the Vampire or the Knight of the Ebon Legion. The Vampire's lifelink is useful, but it will be turn 3 before we have something that can really profit off of that lifelink. So I think I'm going to start with the Knight. It is more toughness, 1-2. So at the beginning, when there's nothing big that you really need to Death Touch for, that extra toughness can help you block 1/1s and not die. Although with blue, it's probably flyers. Red could be grounders. Only have a shock. There goes my... Which is, you know, another reason why it's better to have played that one first, because if I really want this one to survive until it's attacked, and until I have the Bloodthirsty Aerialist in play, then playing it on turn 1, if my opponent does have a shock or something in hand, they'll probably use it on that to try and stop me from building a board presence. And then the card that I really want to survive, I'll be playing it later on in the hopes that they've run out of those shock type spells. So I could play the Murder and kill their Goblin Electromancer, or I could attack with Death Touch, and if they block it'll die. If I want to keep this alive I would Murder, but what I'm thinking of doing is just playing the Bloodthirsty Aerialist and then attacking, and then if they block it dies, too bad. I still get a token on this one, and that card is still dead despite, you know, not having enough, having more toughness, but it makes their instants and sorceries cheaper, so they can maximize like their turn better if it's around longer. They might want to keep like they did. And now I've got both alive, and so next turn if I attack again I get another token, so that's why playing the areas as early as possible helps out with that. Although, you know, they had something big to deal with it anyway. But anyway, play the Opportunist, and it's... So now it's less important to keep the Vampire alive, because I don't have anything that's really getting tokens from Lightning. So I could now kill it with Bone Splinters. Alternatively, I could kill the Vampire Opportunist with Bone Splinters, or I could just leave it. But I'm thinking of killing the Electromancer just to make their turn less good. So I will kill the Opportunist and keep my Vampire alive in case I draw another Bloodthirsty. Also, if they have a big creature, the Death Touch is useful, but being ready the real fly. Yeah, but either way. Also, getting stuff in my graveyard is cool, because then I can bring it all back when I get to 5 mana. But for now, I think, yeah, so if I'm bringing back the aerialist with that, then I probably want to keep the vampire alive. Let's attack and see if they block. If they do block, I can decide if I want to use the murder or not. Although there are worse things to face off against them. So that extra lifelink trigger might not be worth the murder right. While considering what to do. Easy decision. If they had like tons of creatures, then they'd probably just block and be like, it's fine, I'm getting something like tons more creatures next turn. But they're not blocking, it suggests that they are either trying to build up a huge board presence, or they are anglo on creatures. Or they have something that will make their Cloud Conceal better. Players get. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blurred illusion. So that is much worse for me than that, because it can make more and more and more birds. So I am actually more likely to kill that than that. Probably a good thing I kept them. And even if they had blocked, probably would have kept the murder up, just because, you know, like, not worth murder on a club. Unless, you know, my life is a bit lower, I guess. But as for now, before he can actually, or they or she can actually get any birds from playing a blue spell, really mana was used, so I couldn't even get any. And I drew a land, so I'm able to play Gruesome Menagerie. And I have one of each. Really cool. And now I can attack. So start to add tokens. Going pretty well so far. If I draw another land, I can play my Gravewaker. So if stuff dies, it's not the end of the world if you can bring it back. So you can be a bit more free with putting things in total danger. Don't want my aerialist around. Could have killed their Cloud Gun, obviously. Didn't draw a land, but I got another death touch. Play that, it lost its token by going back to my hand, but it's fine. Got another token. And I'm actually not going to attack with the Knight, because I can't pump it up and I don't die to. I don't mind if they kill me. This is more important to get bigger, just dynamic. You don't have any cards in hand, you need to be able to spend your mana if you want to stay, like, you know, efficient. If your opponent is spending their mana and you're not, then you're gonna start gaining an advantage on them. But there we go, victory. So yeah, that does it for the black color challenge. And that's pretty fun. I do enjoy playing black cards in Magic. And yeah, like my go-to deck in Constructed, my other account is a black and white life gain deck. But also like using black in Control, like blue, white and black Control, because you get some cool black and blue and even black and white cards that help you to control things. Like there's a black 2 white mana, 2 black mana card that destroys all the creatures on the board. So yeah, you can play Control with any colors really, but I think black and blue are probably the most inclined. So here's some cosmetic cards. And we got some wild cards. So when we start building our own deck, those wild cards will come in handy, because we'll look at the cards we already have and see what we can craft using wild cards to complete a deck. But I'll only be building a deck and playing against people with it after I finish the Color Challenge series. So if you want to see that, stick around, you can subscribe. Or, you know, if you enjoyed this, if it was interesting, you can leave a like or comment. And Yeah, so that'll be it for today's video on the free-to-play series. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.